Hey Spotify, this is Megan Maroney. When we're on tour, my band and I, after all the shows we've been having, we get some lawn chairs out in the parking lot and just hang out. Everyone's in a good mood, and a cold beer during summer is just the easiest thing to drink, so that's what we're doing. Brought to you by Bud Light. Easy to drink, easy to enjoy. Tap the banner to learn more.
Enjoy responsibly. 2023 Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
It's our duty to support veterans as they transition to their next mission, like Ben, who found his new career at Boeing through the SkillBridge program.
We lead and work with some of the most highly motivated and talented people in the country. The SkillBridge kind of helps you translate all that experience.
And Corrine, who found her next purpose with The Mission Continues.
Once you get out of the military, you don't lose that sense to want to give and to want to make a difference.
Learn more about the programs for veterans and their families at boeing.com/veterans.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. Whatever you're into, with Amazon Prime, you can go deep. So if you're all about pop right now, you could watch pop documentaries on Prime Video, discover pop playlists on Amazon Music Prime. And if you're really serious, order a rhyming dictionary with fast free shipping from Prime. From shopping to streaming to saving, it's on Prime. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to get more out of whatever you're into.
What's occurring, bud?
What's occurring, Luke? No French accent from me today. No accent of any stage winner, because there are no more stages to win. Only a slight note in my voice of melancholy, because I know the tour has to end, but I'm still slightly sad it has. You know, like when you're really looking forward to a mate's wedding and you have an amazing time and you got all those great memories afterwards, but the Sunday you're slightly hungover, possibly very hungover, and you feel just a little bit sad.
I know that exact feeling, bit too well, mate. Yeah, we're looking forward to something. You go big, you wake up the next morning and it's all over. But mate, we were treated to a thriller, weren't we? I think like we said many podcasts ago, the last 8 years I've been there and it was the first year I wasn't, so it's a bit of a different sensation and feeling anyway. But you know, this year I've got to watch quite a lot of it. Obviously had to watch quite a lot of it to be able to give these amazing podcasts. I know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's all over, but we got treated to a belter, didn't we?
I think so. There's a lot of people like to rate a tour, don't they? There's various ways of rating a tour. And I've noticed in the last few days that some people have, maybe because the way the GC battle finished in a quite one-sided fashion after being so close for so long, some people have taken a few marks off this tour. But I think, personally, because it was the GC battle in particular was so good for so long, and because of the contrast between the two main protagonists, the fact that Vinegar ended up winning by all those minutes, that doesn't change it for me. It was still a great GC battle.
So what, on that note, what would you give it out of 10?
I would probably give it an 8 or a 9. Probably an 8 because I'm naturally quite cautious and I'm quite old. If I was young and gung-ho, I'd say 9. Because I think so many of the individual stages were great as well. Even the Champs-Élysées was a great stage where weird things were happening.
Yeah, that was mental. I'd actually give slightly higher. I'm going to go 9.2.
Nice.
And the reason I docked it 0.8, two reasons. Okay, the GC battle fell off a cliff edge. That knocks 0.4 off. And there was not one crosswind day. And to watch bike racing, the best type of racing is crosswinds. And there's always at least one in the tour. When you're going through that central massive and that area, there's always one. And we didn't get any crosswinds for 21 days. So they both knocked 0.4 off the score. But still, 9.2. Very high.
I can understand that. You love a crosswind as well, don't you? Because you have to organise when the chaos kicks in, when the echelons form and people are getting spat out the back.
But it's just the best type of racing as well. To watch on TV, if I'm watching a race, I'm just praying for wind because it's amazing racing. And to ride, it's the hardest type of racing. So, yeah, sorry Tour de France. You didn't order enough wind, so you got docked 0.4.
That's the way it goes, Tour, sometimes. What do you think? All right, so I was looking at the last 4 years, and when it was really super tight in that first week, second week between Snoop Pogg and Vinegar, I was thinking, do you know what? Actually, to make this rivalry epic, you need it to be 2-2 going into next year. So that's one real big positive I've taken out of Vinegar's win. Right, we can't forget this year yet because we're still talking about it, but whoa, it doesn't half set up next year.
No. Their time's been and gone. Next year, Ineos Grenadiers back in the game, coming for you. So, guys, UE, Jumbo, hope you enjoyed it. But yeah, all things come to an end, and that's it for you boys. We're going to hunt you down next year. No, I don't know. Yeah, no, certainly Battle Royale next year. Even this year, Battle Royale in the Vuelta, which is still to come, but we'll talk about that later. But no, it certainly sets up a great rivalry, and sport needs great rivalries, and we've had Van der Poel and Van Aert, which actually on that, if you asked me 22 days ago, or if you said to me 22 days ago, neither Van Aert or Van der Poel win a stage of the Tour de France, you'd say no way.
Yeah, big time.
And that was a big surprise for me. Van Aert come very close many a time. Van der Poel didn't come close once. Okay, he had the role of lead out man, which he executed to perfection time after time. He got sick during the race. He's got his excuses, he's got his reasons. Not excuses, reasons. But still, that's one of the big surprises of the Tour, for them to not to have a stage in between them. When you look back now, that's another little plot, isn't it?
But we had a lot of different stage winners, didn't we? That's the strange thing about this tour. We had lots of different individual stage winners, and Pog won more stages than Vingegaard. And I wonder if that's one of the narratives that's come out of this tour for me, has been how people feel about those two GC contenders. So weirdly, people seem to have become fonder of Pog in defeat, and the way that he handled himself in defeat, and definitely the way that he raced after his GC hopes went up in smoke, with his famous line on the team radio, "I'm dead." Once he said that, you expect someone just to crawl around, and we were even chatting in the WhatsApp group, maybe he's not even going to finish on the podium, is he going to make it? For him to come back and keep fighting like he did, fighting on Friday, fighting on Saturday, fighting on the Champs-Élysées, he's won a bigger place in people's hearts.
Yeah, that's it, mate. And I think people in general always kind of root for the underdog, and the fact that the way he fought back was impressive. After that one early day where Vinny took a minute and a half, whatever it was like, crap, this should be it. And then he fought back. The very next day, that attack out of that hairpin bend, that's an image that will forever have his place in the Tour de France history. The way he fought back and took time the next day. He got his, I think it was 2 stage wins, wasn't it? And then pulling onto the Champs-Élysées, one of the first guys to the first proper breakaway, and who's driving it? Poggy. That's what people want to see, innit? That's what it's exciting style of racing, and Vingegaard deserves the utmost respect for the way he executed, how calculated he was. We've given Jumbo perhaps a hard time throughout the tour, being quite criticised them a few times, but when you look back, they had a massive workload. There was not just Vinny himself, I'm talking about his team now, and they handled it well. They took it all in their stride. They had huge horsepower. So I think, now it's all said and done and the fat lady has sung, credit to them, really. I think sometimes you have to just take a step back and credit where it's due, and I think there's a lot of credit to the Vingegaard himself and the whole Jumbo team. They took the race by the scruff of the neck, from day one. They were always there, right place, right time. Sprint days, they were leading him out right to the final 1 or 2 kilometers, making sure he was safe. So they had the best guy in the Tour, and they also had the best team in the Tour. So pretty impressive from them boys.
Yeah, I agree. We've got quite a few listener questions for our final Tour recap, Luke. So I'm going to squeeze a couple in each of the sections. I'm going to start off with this one from Stefan Lloyd. I warn you, Stefan has thrown us a curveball. Stefan's question: in an alternative version of the Tour de France, each rider is given a Santander bike for stage 21 on the Champs-Élysées. Who wins it?
First question, what's a Santander bike?
Okay, so it's like a Boris bike.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay. God, that is a rogue question, isn't it?
It is.
I'm going to say all the bikes in the peloton are so equal now. Like, the worst bike versus the best bike is very minimalistic. All bikes are pretty similar. So they're already at there is differences, but they're already at a pretty level playing field. So not a lot changes. Georgie Muse crosses the finish line first on his Boris bike.
Nice. Do we assume...
Poor answer, but...
Well, I think we have to assume that there can be no modifications to the Boris bike made. So it's not like the teams get them the day before and they can start stripping bits off and, oiling the chain and do. You basically just get a random Boris bike. And the first time you pedal it is as you make your way to the start line.
God, that would be funny to watch, wouldn't it? Because you even get like electric power up until like 20k an hour or something, then you're on your own, aren't you? And you have tiny little... Actually, no. Who would win? Danny Van Poppel, because they got tiny little gears on. They've got tiny little gears, haven't they? And if you go over 20k an hour, you're like spinning out. And out in training, we just mess around, do these little who can hit the highest cadence. And Danny Van Poppel is incredible. So if the whole peloton's on Boris bikes, Danny Van Poppel takes it by 2 bike lengths because it's incredible cadence.
Nice. Spinning the hell out of it. I'm going to give us one more question before we take a little break for adverts. And this question comes from John Latimer. John says, year 2 of Netflix in the bus. He is wondering what you, Luke, are hearing from the team about this year's experience.
Absolutely nothing. I spoke to a lot of the guys most days. How's the mood in camp? How's the boys? How was today? How was it Carnage? Whatever. But one thing I didn't ask is, how's Netflix going? So, terrible answer, but I have absolutely no clue. Sorry, mate.
Well, what we'll say to John Latimer is that he'll have to wait and see. And keep his Netflix subscription going until next year to find out. Shall we have a little break for adverts there, Luke? And when we come back, let's talk about our favourite stages, riders and other assorted memories of this year's tour.
A message from Chevrolet. Bolt EUV is the all-electric vehicle with nimble, compact versatility. Add available Super Cruise driver assistance technology into the mix for a hands-free driving experience like no other. Keep driving smarter with Chevrolet. Always pay attention while driving and when using Super Cruise. Do not use a handheld device. Requires active Super Cruise plan or trial. Terms apply. Visit ChevySuperCruise.com for compatible roads and full details.
As a teacher, you love to hear this. But sometimes, you just like to hear this.
Hey, I know you're busy educating our future leaders, but how was your date with the coffee shop guy?
So glad you called. How much time do you have?
Connecting changes everything. Learn how with AT&T, educators and their families get 25% off our best plans. Requires proof of eligibility. Terms and restrictions apply. Visit att.com/teachers for details.
This summer, there should only be one word on the tip of your tongue. Yes. Yes to another round of fresh shucked oysters. Or 2. Yes to the last-minute weekend getaway, even if it is 5 hours away. Yes to sleeping in, staying out, or both. And yes to embracing life in thrilling style. Say yes to the summer of Audi, happening now.
Right, Luke, let us move beyond the GC battle. I would like to discuss which teams had a good tour, which teams had an average and acceptable tour, and which teams had an absolute stinker. Which order do you want to go in?
As you said it, I'm going to say...
Okay.
Great tour. I could give the obvious answers here, but I'm going to go Bahrain victorious, 3 stage wins with 3 different riders, and each...
6th on GC?
6th on GC. Had Team GC for a little phase there. So I'm going to go them. And also, my heart's in the right place with that team as well. Haven't been through what they've been through. I can only begin to imagine what it's like racing a bike after losing a friend or colleague, whatever way you want to put it. So my team of the tour has got to be Bahrain. I think they did incredible. And each of their stage wins were done with a bit of panache and class, and
they were, weren't they?
Yeah, and what really topped it off for me was that interview off, which is well spoken about, off Mohoric. Yeah, I thought that was beautiful. So they're top of the list.
Well, I was going to stick in, and this is an easy one. You've done a really good pick, so forgive me this slightly obvious one. I'm not going Jumbo, although they are going to be in the top few teams, obviously. I think Alpecin, for everything that Philipsen did, 4 stages, green jersey, everything worked until the final day, which none of us were expecting. So I think they've got to be amongst the top teams. But let's plummet now because it's much more fun talking about the bottom end.
Yeah, 100% agree with your pick there. One other one I'm going to throw in for a top team was Bora. On paper, all right. They had Jai Hindley in the GC. Where did he finish up? 5th?
7th in the end.
Give or take.
But he was up there, wasn't he, for the first 2 weeks?
Yellow jersey, stage win, and that so important Paris win. So I put them in top bracket as well.
Yeah, like it.
Quickly falling down to the bottom bracket. 2 French teams, sadly. I'm going to go Arkea and FDJ. Gordu, GC, I think he was 10th, but over 20 minutes down.
Never involved, was he?
You didn't really see a lot of him. Was in the GC battle, but wasn't in the GC battle. Pino, rode with his heart on his sleeve, chapeau, but got nothing from it. Stefan Kung went somewhat under the radar for such a big name and huge engine. And then Arkea, I don't know, just showed nothing. There's not much to say. I think they, it's such a cutthroat sport, and if you turn up at the Tour de France 99%, you're going to walk away with fuck all. And they could have not been in the Tour de France, and you wouldn't have really noticed. So
that is damning, isn't it? When you think of it in those terms, it's the teams where you think, actually, were they actually there?
Yeah.
When did I last see them doing anything?
Yeah, and I mean, you had Bargill was probably their one standout rider, but again, it wasn't even close. But no cigar. They weren't at the races, were they? So
they weren't.
Yep. Sorry, boys. And then mediocre. I was tempted to say our team, but then we did get 2 stages and we did get 5th in GC. So we're gonna be like in between good and medium.
Okay, sort of Europa League places.
Yeah. Mediocre. Mitchelton, I think they'd be a little bit disappointed to not get a stage win. They had a good GC, but no stage win.
4th in GC for Simon Yates.
Yeah. So, yeah. You could say them.
Yeah.
But I think if you spoke to them, I think they'd actually be a bit disappointed to rock up with Groenewegen and not get a stage win.
That's
not get
true.
a stage win throughout, and 4th in GC. Comme ci, comme ça. Lotto Soudal, they'd be disappointed.
They got 1 stage, didn't they? That was it. What about some more stinks? What about DSM?
Lotto Soudal, which stage did they get?
Give me a moment, I'll look it up. But while I look it up, talk to me about DSM.
Oh, yeah, bottom bracket. I mean, at the same time, I think there's a reason behind that, and that's their star rider crashed out. So, they got a reason there. I think Pino crashing out around halfway through. He was in that GC battle, and if he had dropped out of the GC battle, you've got to expect he would have won a stage, or definitely been in many a breakaway. So they got their reason. Sam Welsford, he struggled. I picked him a few times, didn't pick up any points, sadly. But his first Tour de France, he's a big old rig, and he made it to Paris, so there's something in that. But you got to put them in the bottom bracket. I'm trying to run through teams in my head. By the way, I don't think Lotto won a stage.
Casper Asgreen?
Right, okay, we're getting confused here. Sorry. I mean Red Lotto, Caleb Ewan's team.
Right, okay.
Yeah. They are, you're right. They are called Soudal Quickstep, but Lotto Soudal will always be like Red Lotto in my eyes, and Soudal Quickstep will always be Quickstep, but that's just me.
It's not our fault the sponsors jump around, is it?
No. Get it together, guys. Middle bracket, I mean, you could put a lot of teams in there, couldn't you?
Cofidis, having not won a stage for donkey's years, winning 2 early doors? Or does that feel like ancient history to you now?
No, that's top bracket stuff, isn't it? That's top bracket. Like that. Yeah, they're right up there. That was incredible. They had a great tour. To be honest, as soon as they won 1 stage, they're top bracket. There's only 21 stages and there's 22 teams. So if you're a team and you win 1 stage, you're above average. So if you suddenly win 2, you're well above average. So Cofidis, great tour, lovely to see.
Okay, one more for the stinkers list. Movistar, big team, couple of third places on the stage, but absolutely nothing to write home about. And everyone who watched the Movistar documentary on Netflix has probably got equal parts a soft place in their heart for Movistar because they're so charming, but also a massive amount of exasperation for why don't they just do things more professionally?
Yeah, that documentary series is great. I've watched that actually. I've watched both series, and it's entertaining for anyone who hasn't seen it. It's on Netflix. But again, they're a team that I'm going to give a bit of a tap out because they lost mass on stage 2.
First day, second day. Yeah.
You know, and the team is built around him. So if you lose your main man on day 1, day 2, it's tough to come back from. So definitely bottom bracket. But you know, it's hard when you lose your top guy. I you know, we've been there. I've been there, and it kind of goes to the team that loss. It's not just okay, we've lost him. Right, let's turn the page. It's what the makeup of the team is built around. So as you're selecting the team, you're not thinking of stage hunters or fast finishers or guys to go on breakaways. You're thinking, I'm going to pick this team because them 7 blokes are supporting that one guy. And when that guy goes, you're left with 7 guys who aren't out and out stage winners. You know, if they were picking stage hunters, maybe they'd have put Cortina in the mix, or I don't know, just plucking names here. But they built a team around a man, and that man crashed out day 1. So bottom bracket, but again, similar to DSM, they've got their reasons.
Yeah, I will also put in that category EF because they obviously lost Carapaz right at the start. They then had Nielsen Paulus in the King of the Mountains, Polka Dot for a long time, like 11, 12 days. So that's sort of mid-ranking for me for those same reasons.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think... but if you don't win a stage, it's got to be lower category, really, hasn't it? So I'm looking through the results here, trying to pluck up a few more teams. Little Trek, good tour. KOM Jersey, they got their stage with Mads Pedersen, didn't they? Israel, great tour. 2 stages, 2 different winners.
Yeah.
Great tour. Well done, boys. Astana, Porto, it was all built around Cav. They were a one-man band, and they lost their one man, which seems to be a common theme among a lot of teams here. Intermarché, Circus Wanty, Porto. Didn't get anything out of it. X, I think average tour. Do you know what? I'm going to put them in. There you go. There's one for my average category, and there's a bit of reason behind that why they're not in the poor category, despite not winning a stage. I think they really tried to animate the race, and it's their first tour. And I think I've seen a stat: they got 10 top 10s, which is pretty impressive, really. I think despite Christoph, I'm hedging my bets here, but I'd say maybe the other 7 is their first Tour de France, and they seem to be in every breakaway, and not just the flat ones where it was easier. You had this Johannesson fighting for stages. I think they really... A couple of third
places, didn't he, as well?
Yeah, I think they really...
Early doors.
Race with their arm on the sleeve. They're a team that you leave the Tour de France and you go, yeah, they were at the race. They inputted into making it the special tour it was. So, yeah, medium, 6 out of 10, above average.
Okay. I'm going to throw us in another listener question from Rhythm is a Denza, which I don't think is his real name. Rhythm is a Denza would like to know, what was the stage that made you think, I want to be there?
Paris. Great question.
Was it?
Great question, Rhythm. To be honest, I would turn the tour on, and most of the time it was just full titties, and I was thinking, yeah, I'm all right, actually. I'm all right here. I don't really miss it. And then there was days, I wish I was there. But it was Paris. I think, anyone who's done the tour, has ridden the tour, and has got that experience and that feeling of rolling onto the Place de Concorde and seeing the the Arc de Triomphe and seeing the Eiffel Tower on the way in. It's special. On my 8th time in, it was equally as special as my first time in. So, that feeling never gets old. 3 weeks on the road, you got your family, your friends, your mates, your parents, your family, whatever. Everyone just lets loose. It's a big night out. It's a big party at the end. And that is, hairs on the back of your neck type stuff. So, yeah, seeing that kind of hit home. But apart from that, none of them. I've enjoyed my month. I've raced Occitanie, I've raced Tour of Austria, I've raced Tour of Wallonia. I've done 3 slightly smaller stage races, and I've loved it. So just Paris, really.
Right, well, before we finish looking back, Luke, let's talk after the ads a little bit more about Paris, because it was a crazy finale on the Champs-Élysées. I don't think any of us were ever going to pick the winner in our WhatsApp predictions league. And we'll have some more listeners' questions, and then maybe we'll cast our minds forward to what else is to come this year.
Rightio, Paris. It just seemed like a crazy day, didn't it? I think they were...
Didn't it?
They just raced it full gas. It wasn't... no one threw caution to the wind. It was just raced so aggressively. And at one point I thought they could actually crack the sprinters teams here, but didn't quite happen.
No, you had that shape of on the nose of the peloton for most of the laps, where it was also stretched out, wasn't it? You could see when you get the helicopter shot, you can see the stress that's going through the sprinters teams just by the shape that the peloton takes.
And Paris, you watch it on TV and you see them sipping on their champagne. You're like, this is a procession parade. And then you get on the Champs-Élysées itself and you're like, this is so hard. It's such a hard race. Maybe for me a bit more mentally, because you switch off the night before and you're like, right, the tour's over. But that is a hard day in the saddle. The last, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever it is on the circuit. But they just whacked it and kept attacking, brought back attacking. So super hard day, or super hard final for sure. But like you say, with our predictions, we've just been absolutely terrible. I mean, and then Jordi Meus just pops out of nowhere and takes the sprinter's crown.
I think all of us were in the hunt because G had Philipsen by right of the fact that he's been bottom of the predictions league for ages. Then you had Groenewegen, didn't you? I had Pedersen. So we were all massively involved. And I think all of us in that final 200, 100 metres quite fancied our chances. And then it went to the man that none of us had even considered.
But I loved that. Again, I'm a big underdog man. And on paper, was he one of the big, big favourites? No. And now he's walking away with a Paris in his back pocket. So, he's a likeable character as well. I speak to him from time to time, just in the races and what have you. So, well done, that man. If Philipsen, he thoroughly deserved it, and Groenewegen, whatever, blah blah blah. But it's quite nice to see someone get their first Tour de France win, and let alone as big as it is being on Paris on the Champs-Élysées. So well done, Geordie Butt.
Nice. I'm going to fire some more questions at you. This one is from Silver Jersey Watch, again, real name. Silver Jersey Watch says, I'm hoping to make it to the Tour de France to cheer one day. What's your favourite spectator? Shall I dress in a crazy costume, bring a silly sign, clap politely, chalk the road, scream, stay home? Or all the above?
I was about to say all of the above, but don't run alongside anyone. We've seen it too many times, and this year resulting in crashes. People with flags, lovely, great flag, mate. You've written something personal on it. Fantastic, good on you, mate. But off the road, there's a nice little grass verge over there. Go pull up a queue and sit there. So and the tour is special with the fans, and them iconic images of the roads, the fans slowly parting last minute as the riders arrive. Iconic images, but it is on the limit sometimes. So yeah, dress up, make yourself a flag, chalk Rowie on the road. That'd be fantastic. But just stay at arm's reach. That'd be great.
The thing is about the ones who run alongside the riders, they never look good because they've generally had a few scoops during the day. They're not in peak physical condition a lot of the time. They've failed to take into account two key metrics, which are the speed that elite riders go uphill and the speed that slightly drunk spectators can run uphill. So they tend to have a brief burst, don't they, where they think they're going to make it, and then the form collapses, they tie up and they drop off to one side and no one's a winner.
And if they've had a few too many beers, they can't really run in a straight line. They don't know what they're doing, which, yeah, it's happened a few too many times in the sport, and people say, oh, there should be barriers and stuff, and then you go, well, hang on, let's just put a bit of reality in this. If we got 200k stage, you need 400k of barriers if you want to keep 100% of the course covered. It's impossible. It is impossible. So you're just reliant on spectators being, switching on their brains and not having too many beers, and have a great time, have plenty of beers, whatever you want to do, shout, scream, sing, but do it respectfully. So, yeah.
Nice. We've got a question now from Gilbert Miller, who I believe we referred to in an earlier pod as Gilbert Miller. So let's stick with that. Gilbert would like to ask, if someone were to contest all 3 Grand Tours, I'm assuming this means in a single calendar year, what does the preparation/training look like, and what would the parcours need to look like in order to possibly win all 3?
Well, the parcours, I think you kind of know what to expect. The only thing that can really change in a parkour is the amount of time trialing kilometers and whether a TTT is in the mix. Apart from that, you're going to get flat stages and you're going to get bloody hard finishes. You can't go away from that. And the training, I'd say the biggest part of training would be the resting. The resting and maintaining weight across a span of 6 months. I'd say that would be the hardest part. You aim for a Grand Tour, you hope the stars align, you get your peak fitness, you get your weight spot on, but then falling off that cliff, building back up, and then doing that again is the hardest thing. So I would say the 2 big challenges there are getting rest versus training, that ratio right in between them, and then maintaining weight, because if you fluctuate too much, it's not good for the body. So I'd say, yeah, they're the 2 big challenges, and not one that I would ever want to take on. I'm not trying to win them, even just to ride 3 just sounds horrific. One's enough for me. One of your happy days. Sign on, sign off.
It's Adam Hansen, isn't it, who's got the crazy record, who just did shed loads of Grand Tours in a row, just kept going and kept going and kept finishing.
Yeah, it was like 20 in a row or something mad, wasn't it? Something like that. But yeah, to start 20 in a row is one thing, but to finish everyone is something else. Bit of a madman, but chapeau.
Right, let's cast our minds forward then, Luke, because there is another Grand Tour still to come this year. It's traditionally seen as the third of the 3 big Grand Tours. I got a feeling that this year may be very different because we have our friend Geraint Thomas riding it. We have, surprisingly, it seems, Jonas Vingegaard riding it. We knew that Primož Roglič was riding it, and also Remco Evenepoel, and also a certain Luke Rowe.
Yeah, well, 80% sure I'll be there. I'm on the long list. There's still selection hanging over my head. I've got to get selected. No mean feat. So, but yeah, all things being well, I'll be there. And it's a star-studded welter, isn't it? I think, you got Ayuso in the mix as well. You got Mas coming back after his crash. You got these guys. Yeah, it's a super strong lineup. But I'm confident we can go with a super strong team as we have for the Giro and the Tour. I know pretty much the makeup of the team, and it's diverse. I think we got all areas covered. We can go for stages. We can really back G 100%, give him every opportunity possible. The focal point will be G and GC, so that's exciting. And then whack out a load of pods along the way with G. That'll be a laugh. Tom, you can come along for the ride as well, mate. We won't leave you hanging.
Lovely.
But it's like we've just finished it's the night after, it's the morning after the wedding, but then you suddenly get a text off your mate going, do you want to come around for a barbecue and a few beers next weekend? And it's like, boom, morale's back. Vuelta's on the horizon, people.
We're back.
Don't be sad. It's all right. So, yeah, it's going to be a good one, mate.
There's certain things about the Vuelta, aren't there? It's always baking hot at the start because it's August in Spain. There is often a little bit of weather about, certainly in the third week, because it's the end of summer in Spain. And there are usually some hilarious stunt climbs where the organisers of the Vuelta have looked at what the Giro and the Tour have done that year and gone, I wonder if we can top that.
Yeah, whatever you can do, we can find one harder. Angleroo, I rode that one in the Vuelta in 13 or 14.
Was that 17?
No, back in 13 or 14, I raced it there. Horrific thing. It also starts with a TTT, Team Time Trial in Barcelona, which is my pet hate.
Which is nice to see.
Oh, I mean, it's a great spectacle, and it's 15k. It's short. It's quite technical in the city. You can't win the Vuelta there, but you can lose it if you bin it. So, and a time trial for me is often a bit of a procession, but a team time trial is probably one in few areas that I get nervous for nowadays. I don't really ever get nervous for a race or a classic or a normal tour stage or whatever, but a TTT, if you shit out, it's not about me. It's about the team and the boys and the GC leader, and so there's a lot of responsibility on each man's shoulders there. So that, to be honest, I'm looking forward to getting to stage 2. Getting the first day over with, hopefully putting in a good shift for the boys on day 1, and then off we roll.
Superb. Well, I wish you luck for that, Luke. And you'll mention the Angleroo has brought back a memory of the year that Chris Froome won the Vuelta in 2017. And I think it was right at the end of the third week, and Contador went up it ahead of Froome. And I had a really bad hire car that I'd picked up that was basically like Postman Pat's van. And it struggled on flat roads, and there's those sections on the Angleroo where it goes up to 20-something. And I genuinely thought that Postman Pat's van wasn't going to make it to the top of the climb, and I was going to gently roll all the way back down again to the valley. So, all power to anyone, whoever has to ride up it.
It's horrific, and it's not just how steep it is, it's how steep for how long. I don't know exactly what the stats are, but you get these crazy steep climbs, but maybe they're a K or 2 long, and this thing just goes on and on and on and on and on. I'd be better off taking my trainers, to be honest. I'd go faster up there on foot, but it's a bugger. I don't actually know if it's in the Vuelta or not. I'll let you know when I get there, if I get there.
Just give us a shout that week, yeah.
Right then, Tom, it's been an emotional roller coaster, but now it is time to bow out from our Tour de France episodes. We'll still be back every week, me and G on the What's Occurring, but you're always welcome to pop over the fence and have a barbecue, as we put it on the very first pod. There'll always be a cold beer waiting for you, mate.
Oh, that's nice. Well, it's moved things on this tour, hasn't it? And I look forward to catching up with you during the Vuelta. You and G will be in the same room, probably using the same microphone. And you'll both be naked from the waist up, because I know that's how you like to pod, and that's perfectly fine.
Not just the waist up, mate. After a long day in the saddle, you got to let the big boy get some air. on that note, thanks for coming. We're out.
See you soon.
See you later, mate. Take care.